show you some place name stuff and how I'm going to attempt to show you how we can use place names to date settlement. And I had originally just going to use the place name to look at peat clearance. But then I remember I had an email from John Harrison who told me that there may not have been as much peat on the land roundabout manor where Murray was talking about. So I've decided to look at settlement as well. And I did my PhD on the place names of Menteith, and that had a significant bearing on what I've got to say today, because there's some problems with some of the stuff. So this is Roy's map of the area around about Stirling, and you can see on here a large piece of moss, which was still extant till about 1800 or so. It started getting cleared by about 1800. And you can see around about it, there's various settlement around the moss around here. Some of it Gaelic, some of it's early Scots. And this is the Carse, for those of you who don't know. It stretches from here from about Aberfoyle and goes all the way down to Bo'ness on this side of the Forth, and goes from roughly here to Dawn down into the other bits down there. Okay. And for those of you who don't know, the Carse is basically a product of geological forces of removal of ice and the rebound of the land. So when the ice melted, the sea came in, deposited all its clay and what have you, and then because the weight of the ice had moved, the land started to rebound, and we're left with basically what is the landscape today. Now this talk is based mainly on an article I did for Simon Taylor's Fester. Simon Taylor's the main place name scholar in Scotland. It was meant for his 70th birthday. He's now 74. We're hoping it comes out next year. The problem with it is, since I've written it, there's other things I've wanted to say, but it's a bit too late now. So one of the place names I didn't put on that, I'm going to be talking about in here. So you're going to be the first to hear about it. So this is a typical Carse scene. This is taken from just about where I stay, Mentry. And you can see Stirling Castle over here and the Wallace Monument. The line of trees, behind the line of trees is basically the Forth. How I got into this part, how I got into looking at the settlement on the Carse, apart from looking at other material with John Harrison and John Reid of the Falkland Local History Society and Richard Tipping, was through these kind of books. There's a popular book on geology, and it has little sections in it detailing little parts of how Scotland was formed. And then this is about the Carse of Stirling. He writes, the first extensive clearance was initiated by Lord James in 1767, and they leased out the land on condition that the tenants, the so-called moss layers, cleared the peat. And it's not only just the popular stuff, sometimes it's junior academics have got it as well. So C.C. Smith, in his article in Bogs and People, writes, reclamation of mossland was not itself new. As early as 1724, it was observed that parts of Flanders moss, and by Flanders moss, he's not just talking about Flanders moss, as such, he's talking about that whole moss going right through from towards Drip. By casting, paring, and burning had become in place, some places cut quite thorough and made arable ground. And my first thought on reading those three pieces of work was, bear in mind I'd done my PhD on Menteith. My first thought was, nope, that's not quite right. So I decided to then start looking at various place names on the Carse. What we haven't done so far is a full place name survey of Stirlingshire. So we haven't done Logie Parish and we haven't done St Ninian Parish. So the place names are, it's a little bit of conditional, or provisional rather, some of this. So to know about place names, you have to know about the languages of Scotland. Now, we are so fortunate in Scotland, we have 6 main languages. Most other places have 3 or 4. I think it's great. But we have the place names are not equal all over Scotland. There's some places have some languages, some places have others, and some places have more in-depth or more in-depth place name to do with the language than others. So then, so we've got Pictish, Peak Celtic north of the Forth. Peak Celtic is the Welsh branch of Celtic, if you like. If we were talking that language today, we'd be speaking Welsh. We talk about Brittonic as being the pre-Celtic language south of the Forth. Now, in my PhD, I had drawn that boundary from about the Ochils to Tucacroin to sort of Loch Lubnaig. But then Murray and his pal went and found a Pictish stone at Kilmadock, so I've had to draw that back down a bit. And we've got Gaelic spoken all over the country, except Berwickshire and the Northern Isles, but not equally all over the country. So you won't get this in Lothian. You won't get as many Gaelic places as you do say in Perthshire or Inverness. Then we've got Old English, which covers basically all of southern Scotland. Now you look at some maps, and there's basically a cut off round about 700-800 from about Linlithgow southwards, and it'll say that Old English stops there, but it doesn't. It goes all the way up into Perthshire. You've got places like Maple and the Swinton of Dalswinton and Dumfries and Galloway. They've got North, Western Isles, and then down up the Northern Isles and then down the Western Isles, and Scots basically all over the country, and particularly on the eastern side, with its cousin Scottish Standard English. And Scottish Standard English is central to one of my arguments I'm going to have just now. And as I say, these languages are not equally represented all over the country, either in time or space. And we can see from Simon Taylor's map, from History Scotland, you get different areas have got different combinations of different languages. So this is the area we're interested in here, this bit in here. Especially Clackmannanshire. We think that's more likely to be British than Pictish, for various reasons. But you'll see that the area 5 is Cumbric. Cumbric just had an older way to have the same British or Brittonic. And then we've got Pictish and Pictish Gaelic Scots and Cumbric Gaelic Scots in this area. So I'm going to start with this bit. It should be familiar for you. You've seen it in about half a dozen slides already. So here's the code that drip going over here. This is Kincardine Parish, or the eastern half of Kincardine Parish. And you'll see in there, this is from that, if you remember that Roy's map, this bit in here is where that peat bog was, and it's all been cleared by even by Lord Thames. Now in here, we have the youngest named on the cards, and they all have the element lane. Pip Lane, Summers Lane, Robertson's Lane, Naylor's Lane. And you can see them coming down in the first edition Ordnance Survey going down here. Now they are not loans. If they had been a loan, it would be a Scots word. A loan is a cattle track, or originally a cattle track through arable land. A lane is just a wee road. Although a loan is also now a wee road. But you get what I mean. But there's also older names in Kincardine. We've got the Cardin of Kincardine is British. We used to think it meant a copse, a small wood, but we now think it means a fort. And I think the fort in this case is probably the Broch at Culdaw, although it could be the Roman fort at Doon, or it could be the Doon at Doon. Then we've got Cambridge. Some of the names are just descriptive, others have occupations and what have you. We've got Bad, which is probably from the Gaelic batter, meaning boat. And we know that other parts of Perthshire, this is the Gaelic pronunciation for boat. And so it shows that there's not just a crossing at Drip, there's also other crossings across the Forth. And there's across the Forth is a map from 1754 in the National Archives by Winter, that's his name? Henry Winter, something like that. John Winter. Anyway, he's got a big, huge map of Kincardine from about 1754, and you see all little boats going all across the Forth and the Tees. And then you've got Octatire, which paradoxically is the second lowest place in Menteith. But why the upper land? Because where the Teeth comes down, just after Octatire, it takes a wee bend and goes down at that almost like a kind of Z shape. And it cuts into the land. And there's 3 river terraces, and Octatire sits at the top of the second, upper one. And then there's Brip, the beautiful land as Murray has pointed out. Now it's at the right, okay. It's got Eldom of Menteith, the Carse of Stirling. Then it's the Eldom of the parish of Kincardine, St Ninians, and Dunblane. And it's also the junction of the dioceses of Dunkeld, Dunblane, and St Andrews. There's a lot of opportunities for disputes in there. And then you've got simple place names like Westwood, and there's Chalmers, in which we know there's a James Chalmers who was a clerk at King's Chapel in 1454. The next area I'm going to look at is basically where you've got Ayr, there's the Kincardine Bridge there, Grangemouth. So I'm going to look at this whole bit in here very briefly. And John Reid, who was an amateur historian who wrote quite a lot on the Carse for the Falkirk Local History Society Journal Collector, he wrote a big article on it. And you can see here, you've got the Carse is in green, and these are peat bogs. The orange colour is the older extent of peat bog, and the yellow colour is the current extent. And you can see in here, we've got the red dots are Celtic place names, so they are British or Gaelic, and the blue dots are Scots. And just to look at the place names, some of the talks have went right back into the early Middle Ages, and it's not irrelevant here either, because we've got battle mentioned in 711 between the Picts and the Anglo-Saxons, I guess, or the English. And John Reid argues that they weren't fighting over a peat bog, they were fighting over arable land, which is probably quite correct. This is the earliest term, Carse Act, comes on record from 1140, but might have an underlying British course, meaning reeds, British sedge, used pretty generally of marshland and vegetation, but by McTominay of marshes and swamps. Candy sits right at the edge of the Forth, sits under the soon-to-be petrochemical complex at Grangemouth. And then you've got Doll. I'll come back to another Doll, but the Doll means basically a meadow, a water meadow, or a hawkland, a land that's flooded maybe not every year, but most years. And despite the precariety, they become permanent settlement because of the fertility of the land done by the water. They've got Gaelic name Kirsty, and they've got Boskenna, which probably contains either British or Old Gaelic both, or both, meaning a hut or a church. And here you've got the Irish saint name Kenna, but because it's got an Irish name doesn't necessarily mean it's a Gaelic name. It could be British with an Irish saint. But importantly, it's one of 4 churches on or very near the Carse. And you don't have a church unless there's a population to support it, generally. And there's Octatire, here is the carpenter, that sits right in the middle of the Carse near Boskenna. Cold kitchen, nothing to do with the kitchen, but to do with common grazing. And then there's a cluster of Dal names on reading about the Carron, which all have these different, I'm not going to go into what they all are because I'm not got enough time. And then we've got Scots, we've got Grange, a monastic farm, a really good indicator of arable land given to Hollywood in about 1140. And it's quite significant that a lot of these early Scots names come on record at the same time that they're given to all these various monasteries. And the place name that I didn't put in my article is this one, Blankland, We don't know where Blankland is, actually, but Professor Barrow equated it with this salt pan in the Carse of Calendar, and this is the Carse of Calendar here. And it's quite significant that there's a pan dead and a salt guts there. So as is the Blankland, if it is, then this is the earliest Scott place name on the card. So what this then means is that Gaelic has reached its peak by 1140, 1152. So we've now started to see the decline of Gaelic, and Scots becomes the main naming language. And certainly by the end of the other side of the Wars of Independence in the 1340s, the area around about Alloa and Clipmannon, we see places like Park Meadow, Grasmenton, and other Scots place names like that, which presumably before that would have been named from Gaelic. Then we've got the Central Carse, that's what I call the Central Carse anyway, which is basically between Tullabody here and the Wallace Monument, although I will touch on Thornton as well. And this area has the largest concentration of British place names on the Carse. And it may actually have the largest concentration of British place names in Scotland for such a small area. So we've got Logate. Again, it's a church, but it's not quite on the Carse, but it overlooks the Carse, and you say you wouldn't have a population unless there's somewhere to support it. Could be British, they're all Gaelic. Thomas Clancy has postulated that all of the Logie names, there's quite a few of them going up that eastern coast of Scotland. There's one in Badenoch as well. He thinks they're probably Pictish, dating from about 650 to about 850. Then we've got Tullabody. Not actually on the Carse, but again, like Logie, has a substantial proportion of its land on the Carse. Strictly speaking, a Gaelic name, but again, it has this underlying British name with the British element, bod meaning a dwelling and a church, often meaning a church. It's not the only one we've seen Bosquera, but there's also places like Balthron, Baldernick, but despite their looking like they have Bala names in them, are actually Both names. Tullibole near Kinross is the same. It's actually the same name, Tullabody, as we go into the place named the Kinross. Then we've got Mentry, where I come from. That's exactly what it says in the tin, with a land of settlement on the plain. And you've got Goga, bend in a river, which is the River Devon comes from Crooked Devon to Goga in an almost east-west direction. Then at Goga goes straight south. And then we've got Doll, or my grandfather who worked in the Wicked, they call it the Doll, and it still is a doll. And this is February 2017, and the reason it would have been, so this is the old whisky distillery of Doll here, and there's an Easter Doll which would be up about here. Extremely fertile land. It's no coincidence that when this distillery was founded in the 1760s, it was placed there because this was some of the most fertile land on the Carse, and they could get the grain for their whisky. And continuing with British, we've got Mana, probably a chieftain built residence of the chief of a district. We've got Powys or Pows or Poos, sometimes you'll hear it. Come to Lepoulis in 1456. Probably contains British Paul, could be Gaelic, but bear in mind that it's also Paul Mays on the other side of the Forth, which has the same element as Mentry, Mays, meaning a plain burn. So this is probably British as well. And then we've got some Gaelic place names as well, not as many in this area as we have in other parts. So we've got Risk, which I'll come to in a minute. And this is just the same bit that John Harrison talked about. We've got Skeert, which comes from Gaelic Skeert, meaning hawthorn. And as John pointed out, there's a peat bog of Skeert, and it becomes the name of a rather large barony in the Middle Ages, which a lot of it goes to the Queen of Scots, including Mary, I think. And then we've got Scots place names, Thornton in 1220. I think it goes to this comes out of a charter for Dunfermline. There's not a lot of Gaelic names in that area. It's Inverallen. There's a couple of little burn names, but there's very few settlement names that are Gaelic in that area. So that's suggesting that this area might be cleared by about 1200, or begin to be cleared by about 1200. So here's this. From there you can see the peat bogs there on Roy, and we've got Risk over this. And Risk is an anglicisation of Risk, meaning a moor, a fen, a peat bog. But it's not the only place. This whole slide, in fact, encapsulates that longevity from British to Scots, because we've got Palmaise up here, we've got Risk here, we've got a Balgoony here, which is probably the Milton, probably means Milton, and I noticed there is an old mill in there on the survey maps. We've also got Moss Side, Moss Nook, and we've got Moss Lairds. So these are the moss lairds, same kind of moss lairds that we see on the Kincardine moss, and which were probably clearing the moss that John mentioned in the 1700s. So why would you go through all that effort to cut a few thousand years of accumulation of peat, in some cases up to 4 to 5 meters deep? This is what it looks like at Flanders Moss at the moment. This is Littlewood Farm, the farm next door to Flanders Moss. And as you can see, they were just taken a couple of weeks ago. So in pre-modern agriculture society, land was the basis of wealth, and good, fertile arable land was a prize that made you richer still. And from that then post on the Clipmannon, on the road that comes from the Clipmannon Bridge to the Myatt, which you can just see under there, is about 8 miles. So you could potentially have 8 miles of just pure cornland going up into there. So to conclude, I'm going to suggest that this area here, between Mentry and Palmaise, is the earliest phase of settlement of a peat clearance. Then we've got this area in here from Grangemouth to Carse. We've got some Brittonic place names, some Gaelic place names. So probably start getting cleared in the British stricken period, then intensified after 900. Then on Kincardine Moss, we've got Gaelic and Scot place names around here, suggesting exploitation but not extensive clearance of peat. Whereas in this bit here, are the youngest place names in the Carse, and this is the latest phase of peat clearance, not the earliest. Thank you very much.